Hi, everyone. I'm Caroline. Welcome to Time Out with Tinseltown Mom. I'm here today with Nicole Whitworth, homeschooling mom of 6 and founder of Your Nursing Tutor, a 6-figure business that was birthed out of her giftings. Today, we're going to talk about how she turned her nursing skills into a thriving online business. Hi, Nicole. Welcome to the show.
Hi there, Caroline. I'm so glad to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you. I want to know more about the 6 kids and the homeschooling aspect of this conversation.
Yeah, sure. Well, one thing I should probably set straight first off is a lot of people make the assumption that because we have so many kids that I must really love kids and babies, and that couldn't be further from the truth. We say
lay it all out right now.
Yeah, so we'll just be honest right up front. I love my kids, but you want to put me to volunteer in a church nursery or something like that? No, thank you. Give me like the grown-ups all day long.
Yeah. So I was actually a volunteer in a church nursery, so it's ironic that you mentioned that.
Yes. Well, when you have as many children as I have, you have to kind of do your time there, as I say.
Yes, right. You have your own nursery to attend to.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, I just kind of felt like I never imagined myself having 6 kids. I figured it'd be like, the 2.5 kids like most people end up having. But my husband and I, when we had 1 kid and then 2 kids, and I just didn't feel done. And so we just kind of took them one at a time and ended up with 6. So.
Well, tell us more about your family, your kids, their ages, and just more about who you are.
Absolutely. So I guess I should start with my husband, Daniel. We've been married for going on 19 years, I think. I always do the math wrong in my head, but 19 years this year. And we have 6 kids. My oldest is 14. So we're embarking on high school for the first time this fall. And my youngest is 3.5. They're all about 2 years apart. So luckily we did get them one at a time, no twins or other multiples.
Wow. And you homeschool all of them.
Homeschool all of them. We have from the beginning. We just wanted more control over how we could educate them and customizing their education, as well as, religious training and being able to kind of raise them with our faith a little bit easier. And it's been a wonderful experience, especially as entrepreneurs now, because we have such flexible schedules. I'm not saying it's always easy, and I'm not saying we're not busy because we clearly are. But I honestly, people always say to me, I don't know how you do it homeschooling with 6 kids. And I say, I don't know how you do it sending your kids to public school, because it's not like doing public school is easy either. You have to keep up with all the teachers and the paperwork, and you're on their schedule all the time, and homework assignments for classes that you haven't even thought about in decades. And so,
right.
Whereas with this, I can always be like, we're busy today, so we're skipping math. It's okay.
Right. And we're going on a field trip today.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And it's also been a blessing because we've been able to adapt. Some of our kids have had different learning challenges. And so we've been able to speed up or slow down based on where they're at. And I've actually found that you have just as big mindset issues with homeschooling as you do with online business. So it's definitely an adjustment, to constantly be reminding myself, don't compare myself to other people. Don't compare myself to my kids to other kids. We're right where we're supposed to be.
Exactly. Now, do you do all the teaching, you and your husband, or do you have teachers to come in to help?
We have done it a couple different ways. We started out, I did all the teaching for a long time. And then a few years ago, we got involved in a local co-op. It was a mom-led co-op. So I would teach one class for not necessarily my kids, but just for, the kids. I did the high school classes because I'd rather work with the older kids. And then the other moms would teach all the other, the different classes and the levels. And that was a good experience. But we decided to do a different route this fall, and we're back to homeschooling on our own. Loosely working with 1 or 2 other families, but mostly my husband and I are doing the teaching now, which that's new for us because traditionally it's always been me doing the primary teaching. But so this is my husband's first year diving in and being a little more hands-on with the actual teaching instead of just being in a supportive role.
Right. Wow. Okay. Well, why don't we dive into your professional background? Because, this is all connected, your professional and personal. So tell us about your nursing background.
Absolutely. So before I actually became a nurse, I thought I was going to be a psychologist.
Mm.
And so I had done a very traditional route of, got my bachelor's in psychology. I went straight to graduate school and was working on it was a PhD program where you pick up your master's on the way in clinical psychology, heavily research focused. And I met my husband via online dating while we were in the program. And I always like to tell people, I like to remind people, that back when we met, 19 years ago, it was people would say, "Oh, you met online. Weren't you afraid of being murdered?" And that was what it was like back then. Now we say it and people are always like, "Oh yeah, we did too." That's
Yeah.
cool.
Right. Right. So many people.
Yeah. So it was very different, but it was he was military, but they were paying for him to go to school at the time, which is how we met. And we ended up getting married about a year after we met, which kind of changed my academic plans because he had to move. And so I was faced with the decision of finishing my program. It was not something I could just transfer to another school and continue. So we would have to live apart for several years, or I was going to have to kind of change courses. And so it was a hard decision for me, but my family, I just decided, I was like, I think that's the priority here. So I was not interested in living long distance from my husband for a prolonged period of time. So I moved with him, dropped out of the program after achieving my master's degree, and had to figure out what was next. And we didn't know what the future held. We didn't know if my husband was going to be career, Navy or not. And we didn't know where we were going to be living in a year. There was just so many unknowns. And so looking around and evaluating my options, I've always been a very practical person. And I thought, I've done the mental health stuff. I don't know that much about the physical body. Maybe nursing is such a flexible career. Maybe I should just become a nurse. And so, forget about the fact that I feel faint every time I get blood drawn. And I just sat down and started watching Discovery Health until I got used to it because, that's exposure therapy. I learned about that in my psychology degree. And then when we did move to the next city that we knew we were going to be there for several years, I just researched the heck out of the area to figure out what was the best nursing programs that would fit my schedule, what prerequisites I would have to take, what's the cheapest way to do it, the fastest way to do it, that's going to get me the best kind of education I needed to become a nurse. And so I found my route. I got into an accelerated second degree bachelor's of nursing program and graduated and was able to get a job in my first choice of nursing career right away, which was pediatric operating room. And I had fallen in love with the operating room during my nursing school experience. I got to observe a couple of times and it was just fantastic. It's just so interesting. There's nothing like looking inside the human body, says the girl who used to feel faint.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking when you said that's what you chose.
Yes. Yeah. But it was just so much fun and I enjoyed it so much. However, the very first week of my orientation is when we discovered that I was pregnant.
With your first child?
With our first child, with our very first child. My husband had just returned from a deployment and we had decided we were going to start trying, but who gets pregnant the first month, right? 6 kids later, right. We know, right?
You.
Yes, we do. So I ended up, I thought I was going to, my plan was to continue working after the baby was born, our oldest. And however, as the time drew closer and I realized because I'd been there for less than a year, the parenting support in this country is not always what one would wish it. I was only going to get 6 weeks of leave before I had to come back to my job. And given that my husband was still military, so sometimes I was going to be operating effectively like a single mom during that time. I was like, I just could not see leaving my 6-week-old in childcare for sometimes 12 or 13-hour days while I was working a shift, given the fact that we could survive on just my husband's income. So I made the hard decision to quit my job when I was about 7 or 8 weeks pregnant. We had our baby, but coworker of mine told me about a work from home opportunity, still in nursing, same hospital I'd been working for, but doing phone triage, like after hours phone triage. So working nights and weekends and holidays, and all the times you don't really want to work, but it makes up for it because you get to work from home. And so, I did not get that job the first time I applied, but they remembered me and called me back about 6 months later. So when my son was about 6 months old, and asked if I was still interested, which I was. And so I did end up getting that job. And I started I worked it for about a year. And that's when during the time that I decided to start Your Nursing Tutor, because I had been working as a peer tutor while I was in nursing school. Just because I've always kind of been strong academically, and I was doing well in nursing school, and I was helping naturally just I gravitate towards teaching. It's just kind of like my skill set. So, and I love doing it. And I had been doing that for my classmates, and instructors noticed. And so they invited me to be the peer tutor. And after I graduated, a lot of the students in the program continued calling me just from word of mouth, and because there was nobody to replace me. So they had no tutors available after I left. And there was a few people I ended up continuing working with just because, I liked them. I had been working with them when I was a student, and I felt bad they didn't have any additional help. And it just got this question in my mind that obviously nursing students need help. Like, what is going on with nursing education that so many students, they're hardworking, they're not lazy, they're looking for help, but they're not finding the kind of help that they need. What is going on? And is this a problem I can solve? And so that was just the question that birthed Your Nursing Tutor. My husband I had some background with a little bit of computer science. I minored in that when I was in college and things like that. So I was comfortable with technology. My husband, however, he's a computer engineer, self-taught computer programmer, web design, all the things. So he was able to help me build a website pretty quickly. Back when it still had to be hard coded with HTML before WordPress and things like that. And I launched Your Nursing Tutor, not knowing what I was doing, just learning as I went. And that's just kind of how it started. And I did it really more as a hobby business on and off throughout the years while I was having babies. And sometimes I would take a long break from it and it would just be sitting there. And sometimes I would be actively working on it. Like I remember I recorded my first e-course because I did live tutoring. I would offer live tutoring on Zoom and things like that. But I recorded my first evergreen e-course when I was 8 months pregnant with my second child. I remember staying up until 2 a.m. to try to get it done every night before I would go into labor and she'd be born and I wouldn't have time again. Got that done. And then when I was taking breaks, I always knew, okay, my course is there that if people find it, they can buy it and make money, and I can be nursing my daughter, and it's okay to take breaks. And so that was just kind of how that got started.
Okay. Wow. That's amazing. So while all this was happening, were you still working with the triage work from home position?
Yeah. So
time?
Yeah, when I first started, it was, but then I got to the point where it was sort of difficult working nights with my son because who was my firstborn, because if my husband wasn't home, then I either had to get a babysitter, and we were having some bad luck with babysitters, and, or I had to be up all night, and then I also had to be up all day with him. If it was a busy night on the phones, especially. And so it just got kind of challenging. And so we just decided that there was potential with Your Nursing Tutor. And I thought, if I had more time to devote to this, I could grow it. And so I did decide to step away from the triage job and just focus on being full-time mom and doing Your Nursing Tutor. Of course, back then I thought it was going to make a lot more money a lot sooner than it did. But it turned into a long-term hobby business for a while that I always knew had potential. And I did that for about 10 years, being full-time stay-at-home mom, doing things on the side, Your Nursing Tutor. I also did some other hobby businesses, like teaching moms about, natural health, essential oils, baking sourdough bread. Basically, I'm always learning.
Yeah.
And whatever it was I was learning, I just sort of naturally built this following of other moms who enjoyed learning from me, learning alongside of me and learning. And so I would just do things like that and throw out one year I learned about how to make homemade vanilla. And so for multiple years, I would make a batch of homemade vanilla starting in April and pre-sale it for, the holidays. And so I would get, the pre-orders to pay for the ingredients. And then I would buy all the ingredients, make the vanilla, let it steep for 6 months, do it the old fashioned way, and then sell. And I would buy twice as many ingredients as I needed. So I would have extra to sell at full price over the holidays. And then that would be like a couple $100 extra we could spend on Christmas gifts for the kids.
Wow.
So just little things like that I would find, and it was fun for me.
Yeah. And you are an entrepreneur at heart. Like that's something, it seems like it's natural. It's innate.
Which is funny because I never thought that at first. In fact, the first time my husband and I talked about possibly having our own business, it was for something he was doing, because he used to make me these little, not little, but these like pretty complex, because I'm kind of a perfectionist. I'm very picky about my software. And I'd be like, I want a budgeting program that does exactly this, 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 and this. Or I want something that I can put my recipes in that's going to generate my grocery order and nowadays you can find like stuff like that pretty easily. Some really good software. But back then, like that wasn't as easy to find. And so he would just make it for me custom. And so we were like, oh, we should sell this. And so our very first business ideas were actually trying to sell some of the softwares he had created for me. But that's when we found out that the biggest challenge for online business, or any kind of business really, is marketing, because you can have the best product in the world, but if nobody has a way to find out about it, then you're still not going to make any money.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Okay. There's so much in there that I just want to talk about. So first, I love to encourage moms who are gifted to actually monetize those gifts. So the fact that you said that you were monetizing all of those things, like the vanilla, did you say vanilla extract?
Extract.
The vanilla and all these other things just proves the point that you can monetize your passions and your gifts.
Absolutely.
So we'll go back to your nursing, because you're very obviously gifted with training, teaching, and the skill set of a nurse. So rewind, you were tutoring. Now, did you start off charging for the tutoring? Because that's a side gig people can do as well.
That's a great question. So the students that I got from the school that that had been calling me from my alma mater, I didn't charge them because we kind of had a pre-existing relationship. But then if there were people from outside of the school, or if they found my website, I did charge. I started charging. And that's when I was very lucky in nursing school. I think it's kind of a unique relationship with a couple of my instructors, where I think it's because I went in having been through graduate school already. I already I was used to a different sort of relationship with my instructors than if it had been my first time going to college. And so I would talk to them like colleagues, and they would reciprocate and talk to me about like the problems they were having as instructors in the nursing program, and some of the toxic things that sometimes go on behind the scenes. And it really gave me a whole different perspective that has informed everything I do going forward. But I always remember one of my mentors, instructors, who told me that one of the biggest problems with the nursing profession is that most of us have not learned how to look somebody in the eye. Because we're a caring profession, we haven't learned to look somebody in the eye and say, hello, my name is, I am a nurse, and I charge this much.
Right.
Because we feel bad about it. But it's like anything else. You have to put on your own oxygen mask, which means you have to be able to feed your own family. You have to charge what your time is worth in order to be able to go out and serve other people, and to even have the capacity to go out and do volunteer work if you want to.
Yeah.
And the strange thing is, or the ironic thing is that over the years, the tutoring students, I've pretty much stopped doing tutoring for free, because what I was finding is that the students that I would agree to work with for free, or even if somebody else gifted them like a scholarship, but they didn't have to pay anything, they never did anything with it. They wouldn't even attend the tutoring sessions, or they would attend one, and I would tell them exactly what they needed to do to find success. And then they would come back to the next session not having done any of it.
Yeah.
And I can't help students like that. They have to be
Right.
in a position where they have some skin in the game and they're ready to do the work because
Yeah.
I always say, as good of a tutor as I am, and I do think I'm pretty darn good, like by now, it's not a magic wand. I can't snap
Mhm.
my fingers and make somebody know how to think like a nurse. It's still a process that they have to go through for themselves. I can just guide them to the fastest, most efficient way to get the kind of results that they want.
Right. Yeah. So let's just talk about your business, your nursing tutor. How long? So this is a twofold, maybe threefold question. How long has it been in existence, and where did you start? How did you start? Like, what were you making, if you don't mind sharing? Like, what were you
Absolutely.
making starting out, and then fast forward years later, where are you at today?
Sure. So when I first started out, it was, kind of spotty. It was more like it was very much a side hustle. And so if I had an active tutoring student at the time, I might make like $1,000 a month or something like that. When I had my e-course posted, it was very seasonal. Like I would sell a few more in the fall than other times of the year, but I would usually sell, several. And it was actually growing and getting more and more. And just by sheer dumb luck, I did good with some SEO, some search engine optimization stuff on my blog. And so I was getting some surprisingly good traffic to my website. And then just overnight, it was about 5 or 6 years ago, Google did an update that just slammed my traffic. And it cut
Mhm.
my traffic down to about a third of what it had been. And so like my e-course
Wow.
sales had dropped. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention too is like how I got my e-course too.
Yeah.
The first time I did it live. So I had these people that were following me and I said, hey, I'm going to do this course on how to be successful in nursing school. So if you want to, join, it's going to be an 8-week course. We'll meet an hour each week and it costs this much. And I had people sign up to take it and I recorded it, going through it live. I got their feedback and everything. And then based on that first course, I kind of refined it and then I recorded fresh videos. And that's what became my first, evergreen e-course that I sold.
Wow.
Um, and it's still the basis of what I do now. Obviously, I've
Mhm.
re-recorded most of all the videos, but you still can find one or two from that original course mixed into some of my resources that I have available to my members nowadays, because reuse your stuff. Don't reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Repurpose it. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, so I did that for about 10 years. And then it just got to the point my husband, he did end up getting out of the military after 11 years and he went into full-time ministry. So I always say that like ever since he got out of the military, our income had just been steadily going down every year because it's a calling, but to be a one income family on a ministry salary with a growing number of kids, it was
Yeah.
challenging. Uh, and once my traffic to my website went down, I really wasn't making much of anything to speak of other than to pay for my hobbies, basically. So
So what were you making before SEO hit or the algorithm changed?
I would say that I was making, depending on the month, it was between $500 to $1,000, probably
Okay, and
evergreen.
then that
And then it
scaled
pretty
down,
much went away.
went away.
Yeah,
Okay,
overnight,
okay, yeah.
overnight. Um, and and I wasn't doing any active promoting either. Like I
Mhm.
wasn't on social media. I wasn't even usually sending out emails, even though I did have an email list. So I was doing all the things you shouldn't do when it came to marketing. Still, I hadn't learned my lesson yet,
Mhm.
uh, but going forward with that, I was just like, oh well, I'm just going to keep working with what I have and gradually improve as I have time and so on. But then a few years ago, just God lined up different circumstances where my husband and I were like, it's really time we need to develop another reliable form of income.
Mhm.
And Your Nursing Tutor was the closest thing we had. We had lots of ideas and even some of like my mom's side hustles, like I was excited about those, but I was like, but the one that's in the closest format to being a full-time business is Your Nursing Tutor. And so
Mm.
we have the most to work with. And I know it works. We know it sells. We just need to put some energy and learn some new things and stuff. So we went all in. I tell people I do not recommend this for everybody or hardly anybody, but we were in a position where it was during COVID. We sold near the end of COVID, but we sold our house for other reasons. But we were in a position where we sold our house. We were renting in a nearby town. And so we had a little bit of a nest egg. My husband was working for a nonprofit at that point, and they changed his job description and gave him a generous offer of, a good severance for a nonprofit, or continuing in the job he wasn't really excited about. So we took severance, we used our nest egg, we signed up for some business coaching, and we're like, we're going in full time.
Wow.
Worst comes to worst, I'm a registered nurse. How hard can it be for me to job during COVID?
Yeah, exactly. You were in such high demand during that time. It was a shortage of nurses.
Right. We're like, we can be grown-ups about this, we're just going to take the leap and trust God to provide. We felt like we were kind of, following in his will. So we're like, and worst comes to worst, one of us goes out and gets a job. It'll be okay. And that's what we did. And neither of us has had to go and get a full-time job since then. And it's been 3 years. And
wow.
We would not want to work for somebody else now if we can help it. It's just been a wonderful lifestyle to build and grow. And we're not where we want to be yet. Like, I don't know if we ever will be, because that's the exciting thing, is learning and growing and trying new things. But between Your Nursing Tutor, it is the core of our income. And then we have like a few little side hustles here and there. My husband's growing a business, freelancing, where he helps online business owners automate their processes so that it can save them time on busy work, and any kind of web design and things like that. We have done on the road seminar company support, like being in room sales reps and testimonials to help our mentors sell business coaching to other people. Like, there's been a lot of opportunities that have come up because we have taken these steps forward, and because of the friends we have made with other online business owners and things like that have supplemented our income and helped us to keep going too.
Yeah. And is it safe to say today your business is a six-figure business?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
So we have grown. I would say right now we're averaging probably like 10 to 12,000 a month with Your Nursing Tutor by itself. And that's, we are we're looking for ways to double that within the next 6 months. So, we're branching out. My primary platform is TikTok, which I only started on TikTok about 1.5 years ago. And, I always tell people I got a $27 guide from a TikTok guru, if you want to call her that, called Brianna Puente, and just did exactly what she said in her guide and then ran with it. And it worked. It's not flashy. Like, you give people good content, you help people with their problems, and you provide value, and then they want more, and they're willing to pay for that value. And so it's been really fun. I enjoy doing the TikTok content. Now we're branching out and doing like more targeted marketing things on Pinterest, which, again, like, I know a lot of moms use Pinterest. I've never been a Pinterest person. And so that's like kind of scary to me.
Yeah. Well, you can get a lot of traffic from Pinterest, actually.
Yes,
but you have to stick with it. That's the thing.
Yeah. So we're getting help and learning about Pinterest and what we can do to get more traffic from Pinterest. Some people think it's scary to get on video and do TikTok. And I'm like, that's easy. But Pinterest, I don't know.
That's funny that you say that.
Yeah,
so Your Nursing Tutor, can you tell us exactly what it provides? What does the company provide? And what do you do as far as your part? I know you do your wonderful videos. Do you still have the course up? Like, what other services does your company provide?
That's great. We've made a lot of changes over the past few years, and it's been, you would think that I'd know what I was doing after 10 years of doing it as a hobby, but the past 3 years, we've learned so much and even clarified our messaging more and more. As I said, never prevent yourself from moving forward just because you don't have it all figured out, because it's part of the process of going forward to get it figured out. And like this, just now, we just did a whole revamp of our website, and we haven't really changed our core products, but we changed the way we talk about them and position them. And it's just like, I feel like this is the best we've ever been, which it should be. Like you should, hopefully you're getting better with time, and hopefully we are too. But what we're doing now is our core product, like our flagship, what I specialize in is helping students study using the Silver Bullet study system, which is an easy 4-step method that I developed over my years of experience that just addresses the primary pain points that nursing students complain about. So they can learn it from me in a monthly membership, where they get access to that. They can come to live group tutoring sessions every week. They can post questions for me in our members only forum. We have a private podcast. We have additional training resources. So a lot of new videos that I've recorded over the years to kind of help with different things. And so that's kind of the main thing that is like kind of the holistic way we help nursing students. For some students, they don't want to join a membership yet, or if it doesn't fit in their budget, then we also have self-study courses. We have 2 self-study courses, one that teaches the Silver Bullet study system specifically, and one that helps with dosage calculations, because there's a lot of nursing students out there with math anxiety. And so of course I have an easy way to teach them how to handle that they can learn that way.
And you put all this together, the courses yourself. You put all this together.
Yep, I put it all together myself. My husband and I do, since we started doing this full time, he does help me with it a lot now in like a behind the scenes capacity, because I can do all of it, but it's so much faster if he just does. And then I can focus on serving the students and creating the content and doing the marketing. And he does most of my tech stuff now.
Okay. And it seems like you have it pretty streamlined. How many hours per week would you say that you're working on the business?
Oh, I wish I knew. I should do a better job time tracking. But I would say I kind of do it in like time blocks now. So I have, my husband and I, we do, because with 6 kids and homeschooling, we have a very busy schedule. So every Sunday morning, we have our weekly meeting. We have a brain dump of stuff we've been adding to all week of things we need to talk about. We go through everything. We look at our calendar for the upcoming week. We check our budget together. We make any decisions we need to make. We talk strategy for the business and figure out what our to-do list is for the week. And then we look at our schedule and we basically block, what do I have time to do this week? My husband usually works in the mornings because he is an early bird, so he'll get up before anybody else does. I like to sleep in, so I will get up when the kids do. And then at around lunchtime, we usually swap places, and he'll come and be primary parent, and I will actually at lunchtime we just started our homeschool year, so we'll teach our homeschool class for the day, and then we swap places, and then I usually have the afternoons, Monday through Thursday, and then I'll work usually all day Saturday. But even just saying that, like, I don't work every day, Monday through Thursday, because sometimes I have a family activity or I might have to run the kids to appointments or something like that. But that's sort of our typical schedule.
Yeah. It's a full schedule. That's for sure. So as we conclude the conversation, what would you say to a mom out there who has a passion, and let's say it's in crafting or whatever, and they just don't know what to do with it? Like, do you have any words of encouragement there? Because I really want to push moms to pursue their passions and, use them in some capacity.
Absolutely. I would say just try things. Just get out there and try it and be inconsistently consistent. Because you hear a lot, especially if you think about earning money, you hear a lot of people telling you, oh, you have to be consistent. You have to be consistent. You have to be consistent. And that always made me feel guilty as a mom who was up, like never got more than an hour and a half of sleep in uninterrupted blocks for many, many years. It's like, how can I be consistent when I don't even know what my kids' schedule is going to be? And so I think that it helped me when I finally learned that if I want to take a break of a week or two or a month or 6 months, whatever, because that works for my family, that's okay. When I'm ready to get back to it, just jump back in. Don't wait for a perfect time. Just do what you can. If I can do it now, but I don't know if I'll have a chance to be consistent tomorrow, so what? Just do it now.
Yeah.
And it compounds. it compounds, because someday you will have time to do it consistently if that's what you want to do. And when you get to that point, you're going to be so thankful. You're going to be thanking yesterday you that you at least put out what you could, because now you're not starting from scratch with things. You have something to work with, and you probably have a little bit of a following, and just put things out. Like I would do, like when I was learning sourdough, I would make sourdough bread, and the friends would say, "Oh, I would love to learn that." I'd be like, "Okay, would you be willing to pay me $15 to come to my house and learn?" And they were like, yeah, we would. And I said, okay. So I just put out on my personal Facebook and said, I'm going to do a sourdough class for $15 a person Saturday night. And I had 10 people.
Love it. I love it. Oh, thank you so much, Nicole, for being here. This is so inspiring. Now, where can people find you if they want to know more about you and what you do?
Absolutely. You can find me on my website at www.yournursingtutor.com, or you can find me on TikTok, and my screen name there is at Your Nursing Tutor.
Hey, moms, thanks for listening today. If you enjoy this show, I would love to hear from you by way of an encouraging review. This podcast is meant to be a blessing to mothers, so I appreciate any support for this platform. Until next time.